people to get on. And then I'll get Alright, so I'm getting ready to cut a flag, a 16¼ by 31" flag. Already got a piece cut down the size. Alright, it's panel board from Lowe's, edge glued, it's already done for you. You can still find them between 19 and 23 bucks. With the price of wood right now, these things come out pretty solid. So, I've been using these for a few weeks now. But anyway, obviously they're never square, so you gotta make sure you square them up. But I got this one cut down to size. And somebody commented on the new series I'm doing, the CNC for Dummies. They asked a question about, you know, they're new to CNC and what do I do if I have multiple bits? How do I zero it? Do I keep my X and Y the same? Which I covered some of that in episode 2, but I did it all from the computer. So I wanted to give you some visualization for anybody that's new, kind of what I do. So, for starters, I made a toolpath in easel. I do use a spire too, but I'm quicker with easel, at least for right now. But what I did was on my spoil board, you can see I got some dowels here. So, a mistake I made when I assembled my Onefinity, see it there, gorgeous machine. My spoil board, I didn't get it fully square, and I found that out when I resurfaced it. So I couldn't use any edge. So there's a bunch of files on Etsy and stuff where you can cut your spoil board and leave graphs and all that good stuff. I used just a simple dowel system. So 3/8 dowels. You can see I got 1, 2, 3, 4 set my X, and I got some going up the side, but I really don't need it because the edge of my board is nice and straight. So if I just bring it down and touch it to the dowels, I know that I'm going to be square. Alright, makes sense? So, for this particular flag that I'm going to be cutting, which I'm not cutting right now, obviously I'm going to have the 50 stars in the Union, my stripes, and I think I'm going to put not a Navy, I'm doing it's the National Sheriff's Association. So essentially I'm going to have blue Union, red stripes, white stripes, which I always use natural wood color as the white, and then somewhere around here is going to be the sheriff's symbol, which is mostly also navy, right? So you've seen me do other videos if you watch my channel where I cut the thing raw and then I stain it, and for this one I wanted to do something a little different. Alright, so what I'm going to do, and I'm going to capture a video of it and I'll do another video based off of that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract the symbol for the Sheriff's Association, and I'm just going to have the outline border cut very shallow. So I'll have that border, and then I'm just going to make a couple shallow marks for the union, and then I'm going to tape it off while it's here. I might pull it off, but I'm going to tape it up. I'm going to tape it up, and then I'll stain the union, then I'm going to stain the whole flag red, and then where I had that outline, I'm going to stain that navy as well. So, since this is the only project I'm going to work on before I cut anything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a stop. I'm going to brad nail just a little piece of 1x2 in here. So I'm going to brad nail it there. This way, if I want to pull the stock back up, my 0 point will be the same. I'm not going to lose it. Alright? So I'm going to do that right now so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm actually doing. By the way, if you just bought the machine, make sure you get this. If not, you can buy a separate one, but comes in handy. Just a little handy dandy trick if you have problems with it. Your top 2 lights are the ones that need to be lit in order to control the machine. Alright, keep that in mind. Mistake I made at the beginning, I kept hitting this button, and I think I had like top left and bottom right lit, and it wouldn't do anything. Alright, keep that in mind. Alright, so let me brad nail this in real quick. Get my flash around here real quick. It's not moving. Flush. Set up. Alright. Now on to what I was talking about. Let me get the vacuum off of here so you can see better. So for this flag, I'm going to use, well, all my flags, I use a 60-degree V-bit. I want to throw that out there. I like the 60 better. See a lot of people online, they use the 90, they like it. That's great. I've used the 90 plenty of times, and I just don't feel that it's consistent enough as I get with the 60. So, let me grab my 60-degree bit real quick. Solid. By the way, the Makita router if you got the Makita router, not the spindle, does not come with a 1/8 collet. So, if you're planning on buying any 1/8 bits, not the head, I mean, you know, the sleeve of it. You're going to need to order one of these collets online. Makita does not sell them. It does come with the 1/4 inch. So, 60-degree V-bit. Got the paint on it. I just cut some signs for a kid's teacher. This one, if you can see it. Pro carbide tip. Got it on Amazon. I've also had the Yanico bit that I got from Amazon. That one is a 60-degree on one side and a 90 on the other. I'll show you that one. I don't know if I could. So this bit, got the 90 on one side, 60 on the other. This bit, believe it or not, is almost 2 years old. Still sharp, still to a perfect point. Amazon, it's like 15 bucks, I think. And I like it because it's dual purpose, right? As long as not being too aggressive with it. I don't go aggressive, probably why it's lasting longer. Alright, so let's get the vacuum holder out of the way. So if I was going to cut my stars, if I was going to cut my stars first, I would bring my machine over to where my 0 point's going to be, right? Just using this as an example. Alright, so let's say that I'm good. So let's say I'm good right there, okay? I'll show you the touch screen for anybody that's not familiar with this machine yet. Okay, here's the touch screen. Up here in your corner, right there, next to the home, that's a 0 for everything. Okay, and if you follow down in a straight line, you got X, Y, and Z. You can 0 anything you want. I always hit the 0 for all of them with my Z too high, and that'll set my X and Y to 0. Alright. So once I have that set, so I'm actually going to hit the button, or the 0 button, and you can see that everything just zeroed out. Alright. Now, what I'm going to do, obviously for example purposes, I like to get somewhere near the middle where the stars are going to be. So, somewhere around there. Okay, I get fairly close. I don't get too close with the controller because it is extremely sensitive. Alright, then I'll get my paper, stick it underneath there, and then back to the touch screen. Sorry. So you can see there's some measurements down here. You don't want it on 5. You don't want it on 0.5. Literally go to the far left. Alright. Make sure you touch it. Now when you lower your Z, which is right there, Z negative, Z positive, okay? Up, down. You're not touching X, Y, or anything like that. You're just touching Z. Is I'll grab my paper and I'll start hitting the Z negative while I slide my paper. And I just do it until it touches. It's about to happen right now. So now it's stuck there. Okay? Now what you'll do is you'll come over here and you'll hit, you'll hit the 0 button, and you see how the Z just went to 0, but the X and Y is at 4.07 inches, 12.28. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise up my Z. You heard it just go. Raised up. And then I'm going to hit the center button in between the XYs. I'm going to hit that, and it's going to ask you, do you want to move, me try to focus here. Do you want to move the XY to the origin? Now, it went back to where I originally told it. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the Z, which is right here. It says Z0, right there. I'm going to push it. Do you want to move the Z? Confirm. And you can see that my Z dropped down to the board. Now the tip actually went into the wood, if you look at it, which is why I do this, because the wood, out of the store without running it through a planer, my planer is 13 inches. My stock is 16 and a quarter, so I can't get it through there, right? I also didn't fasten this down because I'm just doing a video. So, I'm going to raise that back up. So, I'm happy with that. Hypothetically, I'm going to cut my stars now. You would fire your machine up, load in your file, tell it to cut. It's going to cut your stars. When it's done, it's going to raise up and return back to 0. And because I'm going to be cutting another logo with the 60 degree, I'm going to go over and 0 again to this point, but I'm only going to hit 0 for the Z. And then I'll tell it to return the X and Y back to the origin. It'll come back here, and then I'll tell it to lower the Z to the 0, and it'll lower it down. I'll load in the file to cut this outline, and then I'll tell it to cut, and then I'll be good. And then you'll do the same thing for your stripes. So at that point you would do a bit change, right, which is really the whole purpose of this video. But so if you're doing, like, say, a 3D cut, you're going to end up with multiple files, unless you're cutting everything with the same exact bit. So, for instance, if you were using a 1/8 ball nose for the whole cut, it'll rough with it and then it'll finish with it, but it's still, after each file, going to stop for a second, and it's going to ask you, change your bit if need be, and then you'll hit like OK, and it'll come back to where it needs to go, and you'll cut. But the question that I was asked on the channel was, if I have to change the bit, do I have to redo my Z height? And the answer is yes. So you would do it exactly like I just covered with the stars, and then moving it over here. Set that X and Y on the machine first, then move your Z. Always move the machine over to where you know it's going to cut that area, because your wood here could be just a 1/16 of an inch lower, or just a little bit less. Could be a 32nd lower, and if you 0 to that, when it comes over here, it's going to essentially destroy what you're cutting, because now it's higher, it's going to take more wood away. So always move your machine over to where you're going to be cutting, because then you're going to get a more accurate height for the Z. And that goes for any CNC machine, not just the Onefinity. So with 3D, if I was cutting a 3D file, say like a foot by a foot, a lot of people cut they use the center as reference, which is fine. I do the same thing. But when I 0 somewhere on the outer edge, because my 3D stuff usually has a border that it'll cut out. So I'll 0 to that corner and set my Z height, but I have my X and Y set in like this in the center. So after I get the Z, I'll have it come over, and then it'll do its roughing pass, because I know it's going to just eat away the wood there. And then when it's done, I will change the bit. Usually rough with like a 1/4 inch end mill, and then I'll usually use a 1/8 ball nose or a tapered ball nose. So I'll do the same thing. I'll change the bit, and then I'll bring it over to the same spot that I 0'd the 1/4 inch, and I'll zero to that, and then I'll send it back to X and Y and let it finish the file. Never had an issue doing it that way. Some people like to lay like a straight edge across the piece, and they'll use, you know, the base of the straight edge as a reference point. I don't find that to be a good method, for me at least. The way I've done it's worked perfectly. This wood, I mean, I literally just cut this and it's already moving. Good old humidity. Alright, well, that's all I wanted to cover today. I am going to grab a little video of this as well, and I'll do a talking over that as well. But thanks for watching. Not sure who just joined. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm going to shackle this down. I'll stay on for a little bit. Get this thing moved. Get it moved out of the way. Whoever's watching, say yo. For late arrivals, I pretty much just got done covering everything. So, kind of just staying on live to shackle down this piece of wood. And then I'm going to call tonight. Make sure your stuff is fastened down real nice. I was cutting a piece here today. Not a flag. I think I was cutting out. I didn't have it shackled down quite the way that I should have. And I heard this weird sound. I was like, the machine doesn't sound right. I came in and a piece of wood was like toast. I think it actually hit a knot. That's right, it was when I was cutting red oak for a serving tray for a bar. Piece of wood was kind of junky. And I grabbed the knot and lifted it up just a little bit. Thankfully, it was serving tray number 50 and 51. So, customer was okay with only getting 49 trays instead of 50. Alright, so to recap a little bit, without covering all the Z stuff again, I got my piece of wood 16¼ by 31 inches sitting on the 150. I got it shackled down nice and tight, and I threw a stop up. Alright, stop is super important, especially if you're going to do multiple flags. So if I was going to do multiple flags and the union is in the same spot, I essentially could cut just a little line, really shallow, and a couple little dots, so that I could figure out how to where to stain and tape off. And then at that point you could use this flag as a template, as long as you're square on the edge, and then you could just mass produce them super quickly, just pre-stain a bunch of boards. But obviously for this one, it's going to be a blue union here with the stars, red, obviously red stripes, and then there's going to be the sheriff's logo National Sheriff's Association logo right here, which is also navy. Navy and like yellowish. I'm gonna see what it looks like if I just scuff it up a little bit. I think it'll look cool. But yeah, I got this shackled down, so I'm gonna do just a little cut here. I'm not gonna do that now. And I'm also gonna cut the outline of the logo right here. And then I'll know where to stain blue, red, and blue. I'll let that dry and set. And then I'll go ahead and cut everything, and then flag should be pretty much done after that. So put a little bit of time into the starting piece. You know, if you got to spend an extra 15-20 minutes to get it set, but if you want to make multiples of them, you'll actually save a lot of time. That's fun. Yeah, my wife always makes fun of me. I got this bendy thumb. Anyway. Alright, thanks for watching. Whoever's there, have a great night. Stay safe.